Welcome to Hot Ice, Thursday edition, special edition. Probably going to be a little bit different of a show. I think we'll get to the picks like way later. Want to welcome on the newest member of the Barstool family, co-host of Starting Nine, World Series champion, Cy Young winner, Jake Arrieta. Jake, thank you obviously for jumping on. I know you have a great relationship with Carl. Thank you for putting up with us, first off, and thanks for coming on the
Yeah,
show.
man. Hey, it's good to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show's been good.
How's everything? I guess
we're figuring shit out.
All right, perfect. That's kind of where I was at. Yeah, make sure everything was going well. So Carl's giving you the rundown. We dive deep into baseball gambling, like what we're looking at. We got, all the screens going, the MLB big inning, like we're all over the place. Day action, night action. I guess it's like, we'll give like one thing that we've been done. We try to give like gambling tips. So it's like one thing that's been helping us, and I guess kind of get your feedback a little bit. Ev, what's one thing I guess you've kind of had as far as a gambling tip so far, like this year or baseball in general?
So this is definitely baseball in general, and I was curious to run this by Jake, obviously, because he's in the show, so he would know better than me. A thought that I always have is teams that go on like a long road stretch. Say they're on the road 3-4 series. They come home, like you have that little camaraderie. Obviously, you're as a team, you're away from your families. You're gone for a while, maybe 2 weeks or so. You come home that first day, you kind of all separate. You're with your families again for the first time. I kind of like to fade teams at home, coming back home from that long road stretch. What do you think about that? You think there's any validity to that?
Well, I think there can be some validity to that for sure. I mean, especially if it's a lot of travel, right? If they're bouncing around, if they're going from East West Coast and vice versa, and you got to look at how they performed on that road trip, right? I love to look at the starting pitching. I think obviously that's where you guys probably start to really diving into the starting pitching. But you're right about that. So you're saying you like to bet against, or you like to bet for the teams that are coming off of that long stretch against them.
I can't hear Ev, but it sounds like he said against.
Yeah.
That first game when they come home, bet against them.
Got it.
I think you're probably right, man. I think you're probably right. It's always tough. It's always tough shit, especially if it's 7 to 10 games. I tend to agree with you on that. I really do. But I think, and I'm sure you do, you got to look a little bit more into it, right? Like who they're playing. Like if they got one of the weaker offenses coming in, they got a horse on the mound. That's a factor you got to look into. But overall, I kind of like where you're going with that.
Carl, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about this a little bit, but like when I'm just like you got to have a good spot to be betting with run line, or to be betting with run lines, to be taking teams -1.5. Like you really have to be looking for a big spot. Like even if it's like, the fucking, say like the Dodgers are playing the Reds or whatever, like that -1.5 is going to be like -125. And you're like, oh, of course the Dodgers are just going to fucking steamroll the Reds. They suck. But like, even at like the worst teams, like it's still hard to win a fucking baseball game. There's just some like public perception where like when the team sucks, like, well, of course they're going to get their doors blown off. And like a lot of times, like 1-run losses are I don't know. I just feel like they're way more frequent than people realize. So like, I guess just from your perspective, like even when you're playing a shitty team, like, did you consider it like a significant to go out there and like beat their ass, or like, beat them, handily, I suppose, or what?
Man, you're right about the spread, because like, how many times have you seen a guy like Scherzer or DeGrom go out there and give up 2 or 3 in the first inning, and you're like, fuck, that's where it gets weird. So it seems like the money line, right, or the over-unders seems like the better play when you're talking about betting baseball. But it's so hard to stay away from, because you're, like you said, you got the Dodgers playing the fucking Orioles or whoever. You're like, yeah, of course they're going to win by 2 runs. And then so many times it seems to go the other way. But there were that series, the Dodgers series, when they came to play at Wrigley, I'm like, fuck, these are just games that I feel like are easy wins. But then you get into it, and it doesn't seem so easy when you do it. So, and you guys have more experience. I mean, what's y'all's experience with that? Are you guys a fan of the spread, or do you tend to, lean more towards money line or the over-unders?
I'm not like I will.
Well, I think it goes. I mean, the simple answer is yeah.
No, Rico, go. I was gonna say, Rico, go ahead.
Sorry,
Rico, go ahead.
You're laying so much. It's all good. It's all good. You're laying so much on a money line. So, like, to Carl's point, it's not necessarily like, I definitely think they're going to win by 2, but to lay 125 against like minus 275, sometimes it's a better option. You're like, well, if they do win, I'm hoping for a big win. You know what I mean? Like, I like the money lines when they're affordable, if that makes sense. Because you do get Scherzer minus 300, DeGrom minus 300. Like, that's kind of how it goes when you get some of these things. Ev, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying it's not something I feel like it's something that, as years gone on, that I've gotten away from. But the one thing I will say, I think the sucker way to bet the run line is at home. Like, you always want to try to do it away. Obviously, you always get those 9 at bats because it's always tough when like the away team comes, like the home team's winning, the away team comes up, puts one on the board in the 9th, and then you don't bat. They win by 1. It screws you like that. I mean, Rico makes a great point. Obviously, I think most of the reason you get taken in the first place is because you don't want to lay minus 250. It's just a lot of juice to lay, but it is crazy though. I know, especially last year. I think it was even the year before as well. Favorites were doing like incredibly well. Like, I think last year, if you blindly bet like every favorite, you were up actually pretty big, which is very rare in sports. It usually falls pretty like 50-50. But baseball is kind of a different game where like there's not like there's the run line, but it's not like, say, basketball where you're getting like +7 and stuff like that, or football where you're laying like -4. Like, there's no real. It's kind of like money line, run line, or like that's it. So I'm more like a money line guy. I've kind of went more dogs this year. And I mean, honestly, this year hasn't started great for me, but we're working our way through. It's early in the year.
Yeah, and I think it's actually like interesting is how much me, Evan, Rico, we talk about betting baseball, and like when we were putting the show together for Starting 9, he's like, it's like crazy to be like, dude, you've never sat in like the bleachers and just fucking bet your ass off all day. Like, you've just been in the dugout, and like, in baseball, gambling is so against baseball culture. Like, it's just like one of those things where, so it's just crazy to like, I hope Jake soak this. Ev is making phenomenal points, and Rico is making phenomenal points. These are guys that have just been sitting here hawking money lines and run lines and losing bets at fucking midnight for like a decade. So this is good shit. Now, here's something Jake told me that I thought was really interesting. And he was like, look for teams. What were you saying about playing in Miami?
You got to look for cities that guys tend to go out in. That's kind of a big deal, right? The cities like, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, where guys tend to not go out much, not do a whole lot extracurricular activity. But then you got New York, you got LA, Miami, right? A lot of the young guys are probably going to go out. Not to say that everybody will. Starting pitchers don't. I mean, those guys are locked in. They're taking care of their shit. But you might get a group of guys that go out that want to go to, live in Miami or go out to the restaurants real late and have a few too many. So, hey, that's something you got to keep in mind, when you're looking at teams playing in cities like that.
Okay.
We got to get a network of bouncers. We got to get a network of tips to Rico. Hey, I see fucking, the Nationals just showed up.
Yeah, I would love that. If we had somebody on TMZ, I would love that. The one kind of tip I had, and I'm interested, Jake, to your point as well, like, and today's a perfect day, Thursday, getaway days, some day games. Like, does it seem like it's harder to score runs on those getaway days, or should you target a team who had like a really bad 2 games and like this is the saving grace? Like, I guess from the mental standpoint, like, does it feel like sometimes, hey, guys are swinging a little bit early, like, let's just get on the plane and get the hell out of here? Like, what's the mindset of getaway days?
That can happen sometimes, a getaway day, but still, like, guys are doing everything they can to win the ball game. I think that it's a smart thing to bet against the sweep, in my opinion, right? Especially, I mean, I believe that the Cubs got swept at home against the Dodgers, correct? Which, I mean, the Dodgers are a badass fucking team, but you would still not expect, the Cubs to get swept at home. So in the future, I would tend to look at those situations, especially at home, and bet against the sweep. Just as a general rule of thumb, I think in baseball, that's probably a smart move long term if you're into betting.
Do you think that doubles down even more so, like we say it in football all the time, basketball, like a letdown spot? So you have, like, perfect example. I forget the exact day of the week it was, but the Mets-Phillies comeback like last week, 7 runs in the top of the ninth. Let's say that's a Wednesday night, right? And they still have that 4th game of the series or 3rd game of the series on Thursday. Is that a great spot where it's like the Mets, pulled one out of their ass? They're going out at night. They're kind of riding on a high horse. Like, yeah, we can hit anything. Do you kind of you think it's a good spot to kind of smash the Phillies?
Well,
like,
you got to look at
their guts ripped out. Like,
yeah. Again, look at the starting pitching first and foremost, right? Then you can. What time is the game the next day? Is it a day game? Is it a night game? If it's a day game, maybe you got a few guys staying up a little late, having a few beers. Maybe you want to smash the Phillies. It could also go the other way. Like, hey, we just did what we did. Let's come out tomorrow and finish this thing off. Let's fuck them up again tomorrow. So yes, I mean, in theory, you want to think about things like that. But then again, look, you kind of need to, and you can't necessarily know these guys personally, but you kind of want to dive into the character of the roster. You look at guys like Nemo and McNeil and Alonso. Do you think those guys are going out and getting fucked up? Like, probably not. So I kind of like those guys riding high and feeling good about the way that they played, and then coming out and trying to do the same thing the next day, right? Especially if it's a night game or an afternoon game, I like that. If it's a day game, maybe you got guys still with the adrenaline rushing and staying up until 3, 4, 5 in the morning and coming out flat. So look at the game time. Check out just the character on that roster, which again, the Mets roster, the pretty high character guys. So I wouldn't tend to think that those guys would come out flat and hung over the next day.
Sure, makes sense. All right, so Carl, do you want to get into picks, or do you want to? Because the one headline we did have involves the starting pitcher with Syndergaard. I was kind of very interested to see Jake's opinion on that. Which way do you think we should go?
I very much would like to hear the discourse on Syndergaard. Syndergaard's like obviously a legendary guy in your world, Rico, going back like outside of the Barstool world. He's a fucking all-time, like, Syndergaard's a fucking man, and I'm pretty sure, Jake, I don't know, you guys like played catch a couple times before. You got some insight. You know the type of guy he is. So yeah, let's talk fucking Syndergaard, man. He's sweet. Yeah, he didn't give a fuck.
Jake, I mean, Carl, I don't want to hang his dirty laundry, but he was involved in the Barstool world. If you can kind of figure out how that's going, maybe he was on page 6 every once in a while. I'm just gonna say that with the
there's some whatever,
Exactly, fair enough. So Jake, the Angels throw a no-hitter, right? Reed Detmer's no-hitter. Carl bet against Reed Detmer's in that game.
We should have said that off the top. We should have said this off the top. I bet against Reed Detmer's, and then I also bet against Verlander, and they both went fucking. What did they go? 17 innings and one hit.
Yeah. So Syndergaard puts out that it's a real, like, this is what a real no-hitter is on Instagram. He's replying to SNY, like, through some circles here, I guess, in New York. Like, he's very aware of his image, and it seems like he's kind of like a jealous ex here with the Mets. He sees what's going on with the Mets. Like, what do you make of that? Like, should he just, I hate to say it, but like, shut up and pitch and stop worrying about the Mets? Is it like he's really upset about the way it ended? Like, what's going on?
I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. We're talking about it. He's that kind of personality. He's from Mansfield, I believe. We're Texas boys. He's got like a chip on his shoulder. He was a young, like, kind of chubby kid, and then hit this growth spurt and turned into fucking Thor or whatever, right? Like, now he throws he blossomed into a dude throwing 100 miles an hour, dating supermodels and whatever, right? So that's just the kind of guy he is. You get what you get. I personally kind of like it. The tension between him and the Mets, like I don't know everything that goes behind it, but we're talking about it, so it's some good bullshit, right? You either love him or you hate him. I love watching him pitch. But the whole like, hey, this is a real no hitter thing. That's kind of funny. I mean, a combined no hitter is still pretty fucking cool. Davies and our guys threw one last year in LA, which is pretty sick. So either way you look at it, it's a no hitter. The comment's funny. I think it's funny, and it gets a conversation started. It gets people fired up.
Sure, fair enough. Is there anything in the clubhouse though that guys would kind of be like, they see it on Instagram, like maybe they're like, hey, you're with us now. You know what I mean? Like, why are you still so worried about the ex-girlfriend? Why are you worried about the ex-team? You know what I mean? Do you think there's anything in the clubhouse where guys kind of break his balls and like, hey, we're doing well. We got a good record. We're making a run at the playoffs. Like, worry about us.
You might be right. I mean, Joe might say something to him, or even Trout might be like, hey, maybe a little less of that, or they understand that what's happening amongst the team in that clubhouse is tight knit, and if Syndergaard wants to pop off and say something here and there, then they put up with it. They just, or not necessarily put up with it, they just know that's just the kind of guy he is. So it could go either way. I mean, obviously Joe has a way of creating a culture amongst the team that is very conducive to, just like that family unit. So maybe they just let him be himself. That's as long as he's going out there and throwing the ball well and able to talk some shit and fuck around with people and perform, then no one gives a shit. It's kind of like the Gronk thing, right? You can say whatever the fuck you want as long as you're out there performing. So I think as long as he's throwing the ball well, they'll put up with it. And if things turn a little bit, then they might say, hey, man, all right, enough's enough.
So, like, I think it's actually directly relevant. Like when you in 2015 then sent that out against the Pirates before like the wild card game, like when you were tweeting out like, it doesn't matter. Like, did Joe say something to you then, or was it at that point it's just like you're off to the fucking races? Like you're talking about like Joe talking to Noah. Like, did he ever say anything to you when you were kind of getting going a little bit before you went dark on Twitter?
No, I think he knew that I was in a spot where it didn't, like I said, it didn't fucking matter what was said to me or what I said to anybody else. It was just one of those periods of time where it wasn't a guaranteed win 100%, but I was like, fuck, if you beat me, you got to be as good as fucking possible. Cause every time I went out there at that point, I was virtually unhittable and putting my team in a position to win night after night. I mean, but I was calculated and smart about it. I wouldn't have sent out a tweet like that last year when I fucking had a 6 or a 7. You know what I'm saying? So I picked my spot. I picked my spots. I'm pretty smart about when I say certain things.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Hey, good job.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
Ev,
you.
did you have anything else, I guess, before we dive into the picks?
Nah. I thought honestly, because what he said about Miami was another one. I was like, that whole thing. That was another question I was going to ask. So I'm glad that a lot of the thoughts that gamblers have, I'm glad that we're kind of getting that confirmed by like a guy who really knows what's going on.
Yeah, you can't overstate it too much because look, guys want to have fun. They obviously that doesn't mean that they're not going out there and doing everything they can to try and win a game, but they're also going to go to Prime 112 and have 4 or 5 bottles of wine with the boys, and if they've got the wives in town, they're all having a good time, and that's a family trip where you might have some good friends there coming to see you or some relatives, and you just hang out and you stay up too late, whatever, things happen. And that could tend to lead to just being half a step behind where you typically would be if you're fresh.
Yeah, makes sense. So like I said, Jake, that's awesome insight. Like obviously have you on more, listen to the podcast. It's been fantastic. Like I'm always interested in the stories, umpires, clubhouse, like baseball's just been around forever. It's like we talked about too, like game with father and sons. Like I love it. So I'm definitely interested to hear your stories. I appreciate everything you've said today. It's been awesome. We'll get into the picks, move a little bit quicker. I'm on the Reds, the hottest team in baseball right now as a dog. Small dog, plus 110. They're hitting well, 7 runs in their last 7 games on an average. I hate Brubaker. They got 2 off of him, got it to the bullpen. They lit up the bullpen. Give me the Reds plus 110. Ev, who are you chasing on a plus sign?
Boys, I have to do it. I have to do it. The Yankees are plus 135 today. I have to do it. I understand. This is a team that's won, I believe, 18 of 21 now. I understand the pitching matchup is significantly in the White Sox favor. Cease has came into his own this year. He's been unbelievable. But we got Luis Gil on the mound making his first start this season. Actually, I think he's pitching for the first time in the big leagues this season. But he came up last year, actually pitched really well. He kind of became that 5th guy when we had some injuries. I think his first few starts, he actually didn't give up a single run. He's a guy that we're only looking for 4 good innings out of him. The bullpen for the Yankees has been great. Give me Michael King or Clark Schmidt, one of these guys come in the 5th or 6th. I'm looking for 4 or 5 good innings out of this. I mean, a team that's this hot, you're going to give me plus 135. I have no choice. My hands are tied. Yankees plus 135.
It's a principal play. Carl, who are you chasing?
It's a principal play. Dude, I have such a Jason's right. I'm 0 for my last 4 on this show. I think 0 for my last 5 if you take away my best bet from the whatever, guys. I'm back on the wagon. I like Derek Shelton. I'm actually a huge JT Brubaker guy. I'm taking the Pirates minus 132. It's a stupid fucking price. I think the Reds are just as good as they are. I'm looking at this game. It makes absolutely no sense to me why the Pirates are minus 132. Normally, I would shy away from this, but because of the fact that I think it's just like it doesn't make any sense to me. You know, Connor Overton, you know, it's I don't know. Enrico, again,
No,
I know
that's
this
fine.
is I hate to bet against you, but
That's how we've never had a head-to-head. So, Jake, like little insight, like we don't say what picks we're going to have because we want everybody to form their own opinions. Like, you don't want it to be staged. So, like, this is the first time we're going head-to-head. So, that's your best bet, though, Carl, right? Because you're laying.
Oh, fuck.
No, it's all
Yeah.
good. So, just
But it's better. I guess in this case, and it's good that I brought that up
It's
because I want to be
perfect,
opposite you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
give us the dog right now. Who do you have as a dog?
Yeah, perfect. The dog is, after I said stay away from the run lines, I'm sorry, Ev. The dog is the White Sox minus 1.5 plus 140. I'm sorry. Dylan Cease against the Angels in a getaway day when they needed him as bad as ever when the White Sox were 8-13. Dylan Cease went out and fucking K'd Mike Trout 3 times, and the White Sox have been on an absolute tear ever since, save for Josh Naylor winning Bag of the Week award, tuned in a starting 9. He won a weekly award from us for having the biggest nutsack in Major League Baseball this week for that Grand Slam. Huge, smooth Canadian balls. But notwithstanding him winning that award, the White Sox are the hottest team in baseball. And my spot is like the Yankees, like one of the very few cities I think the Yankees can go out and like have a little good time in Chicago. I think, they're playing well. I think Dylan Cease I don't think Dylan Cease has cracked a smile in fucking 6 years. He's just ready to go out there.
You got Rizzo back in Chicago, man. I mean, he's out there.
So
he's in the streets.
He's got the private rooms too. He knows how to stay away. He knows that. So those guys have probably been waiting for Riz to show him around, knowing the type of guy Riz is too. That's my long-winded double bet. I'm gonna get this stuff together. Last time I fucking bet against Robbie Ray. He wasn't even pitching. I was talking about Robbie Ray. Turns out, of course, he fucking never mind.
It happens. I am 5-0 in my last 5 best bets. I'm going with the Dodgers over 3.5 runs minus 143. So when I was doing the research, the run line was, the team total was 4.5. In 17 of their 20 wins, they have over 5 runs. They just lost 2 or 3 to the Pirates at home. I think they crushed Wheeler. We'll get to that in the hit parade. I'm Dodgers over 3.5 minus 143. Ev, give your best bet quick.
Dodgers. It's very rare you're going to get the Dodgers minus 140. I kind of agree with you. They just coming off losing 2 or 3 to Pittsburgh. They're back home. I think they're 10-2 at home. They've been a great home team for years. They've been the best team in baseball for the last 5-6 years. It's rare you're going to get a minus 140. I like Wheeler, but he struggled early on this year. Anderson's a younger guy, but he's pitched well this year. Give me the Dodgers minus 140. It's rare to get him at that price at home.
Yeah, I just love the team total. I do think you could lose the game. But I'm giving out the Dodgers on Pick Central, but I think the team total, either way, they're going to smash them. Jake, so this is how kind of our fan base works. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
I like it, man. I like it.
if you do have a bet, you will become the most tailed gambler at this company like very quickly. So
cool. Hey, I might suck at the beginning, but I'm gonna get good at this. And I don't know if it's a good thing that I agree with Carl, but I like the White Sox plus 140. I like it. So, but then I also like Phillies Dodgers under 7.5.
Okay.
Look, Wheeler hasn't been pitching great, but he's a Cy Young type of guy. I know he's not going out in LA. He got a great night's rest. He's gonna be fucking ready to go. He's looking to get back to where he's pitched, in the past couple years. And I think Anderson's gonna pitch well at home too. I do not think that they get more than 7 runs.
Okay. That's perfect. We ran a little long. We're gonna get your price on Hit Parade. It involves Trey Turner, Tim Anderson, and who did you give out, Ev?
Freddie Freeman.
Yeah. So we're kind of going against Wheeler. That's fine. Maybe the Dodgers win 5-0. Everybody kind of wins. The Hit Parade, 3 guys to get a hit parlay together. It'll be bumped up. We are plus units on the year. We're doing really well. Kind of wrap it up here. Jake, I want to thank you again. Everybody go check out Starting 9. And like I said, I think it's very intimidating to see you with your shirt off. Just say that, man. I saw 2 of those videos. The new Jack City, I love it. You can definitely back it up, man. You're a man's man, as I wanted to say. Like,
look, man,
Cy Young winner, man's man. So,
well, I appreciate it, Rico, Ev. Thanks for having me. Look forward to meeting you guys in person and being a part of the show again. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. That's Hot Ice.
Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Thanks again, Carl. Jake, thank you very much. That's Hot Ice. Check it out. We'll see you Tuesday.
All right, boys.